ये पूरी जर्नी ही ऐसी है. And I really thought कि इस time अलग होएगी. It's my 5th month. It's ending. It's 31st May today. 5th month of new startup. It's the same. More challenging maybe is what I can say.
Hello everyone, this is Karishma Sharma, the anchor of BioPatrika magazine. Welcome all of you on Bharat Startup Talks. In this show, we talk about the learners, the pioneers, their journey with us. They used to share their setbacks that they have learned during their journey. And today, the guest we are having, she is the great example of the same. She's working upon the sustainability. I hope you heard about this concept a number of times. To explore more about it, let's welcome the guest of the day, Ms. Aditi Balbir. Aditi, thank you for joining us in BioPatrika magazine in this session. We are very happy to have you. So welcome, Aditi, once again. So
thank you so much, Karishma. Lovely to be here.
Thank you, same here. So Aditi, let's start with the first question. So as you were an entrepreneur also, earlier you worked upon the B resorts, right? You have a great empire. Yeah. I heard about that you turned your passion of the travel into the tourism and then turning towards sustainability. It's really a two different aspects. So why you started to work upon the venture and then turning towards sustainability? What makes you do the same?
So, Karishma, actually, very early on, we had impact-focused investors on our cap table. And, very good ones like CDC and IFU, and these are basically sovereign funds. So they were very high on impact, right? And because our story was a rural tourism story, they, from the very early on only, they basically coached us on how to make it an ecotourism sort of a venture. So very early on, we basically used, sustainability as one of our key selling propositions. And that's how we ran our resorts. We actually, I don't know how many people can really say this, maybe more now, but way back in 2011, I don't think there were anybody who was really running sustainable ventures. And we were doing this way back. And, of course, the push came from the investors. But once it came, I felt that it also got very nicely sort of ingrained in the business model, right? Yeah. And we could use some of the sustainability ideas to drive more customers. So, for example, I can give you some examples. If we look at the social impact area, there are, we used to do a lot of community initiatives because we used to actually create activities for the hotels and for the resorts where we used to be present, right? So we used to engage the community because they were the best at it and they were the best to really know what all could be done here. So for example, trekking. So they would know the best routes, whether you could see a surprise waterfall somewhere, etc., etc. So we used to engage the locals and engage the community that used to be around, or maybe the village around our particular property, and do these activities. Now, it was very high on impact because we were giving entrepreneurship opportunities to the locals, but at the same time, it was very high on consumer engagement because they came and they said, oh, how nice, there is a trek to a particular waterfall, or there is some interesting ruins that nobody else shows. So very early on, we used that to draw customers to ourselves. And I think that's why we were more successful. So there is no change in my, outlook from hospitality to sustainability. It is actually all driven by the sustainability that we did in the hospitality venture. And moving forward, obviously, we are now looking at actually taking all that information and sort of helping other hotels and other resorts to become more sustainable in a very cheap manner. So the idea is not to encourage huge capex spends and to encourage a lot of change in your own operations. It should be done very organically, and it should be done in a way that complements your business model. So that is basically what we're doing these days.
That sounds really interesting. Like, great to know that how you have connected the two different aspects, and just learning the demand of the customers and making such empire. That's really great, I guess. So right. I have second question with you. Like you talk about the sustainability and you're working towards the same. when we see towards this competition in the market, especially जो analysis हम देखते हैं, जैसे कि Make My Trip है, there are so many organizations who are also working on these aspects. So एक comparison आ जाता है mind में, trust me को लेके when you are working with on this very wonderful aspect, especially when you have started in 2019, as you said. So what kind of problem have you ever faced, and you feel like that it's really important while working on these initiatives we should remember, or one should remember?
So I'll come to the challenges later, but just before that, everybody is working on sustainability. In fact, more than sustainability, I think people understand the term ESG, which is environment, social governance, right? And everybody is working on that. In fact, SEBI has recently made it mandatory for the top 1,000 companies to have ESG disclosures. So that is a very big, tailwind that we get in our industry, and it's a very big deal. There are very few countries in the world that make ESG filings mandatory. You will be very surprised to know that US does not have any such, thing yet, even though they are way more evolved than us in this. So that way, kudos to the current government to be able to give that and to be able to give ESG that importance. But that said, the companies that are working on ESG are actually my clients. They are my customers. Okay. So for me, I don't compete with any of them. Whatever they are doing, my job is actually to tell the consumers about it. And my job is to actually tell or coach or educate consumers on how they can find sustainable products. Because right now, governments want you to do ESG disclosures. Company want to do it for either policy or for funding. But nobody is looking at the customer. And right now, customer is the guy who's confused, because even if I'm very climate focused and I myself in my daily life also want to only buy sustainable products, there is no way for me to know what is sustainable and what is not. Specifically, even if somebody is doing ESG disclosures, even then it's not, it is very difficult, because ESG disclosures are at company level. Okay. So a brand could be supporting communities. A brand could be, in fact, like oil is the best example. So an oil manufacturing company or extraction company, like say, I won't name them, but we know who they are. But those guys now, so they are extracting oil that's essentially unsustainable. However, with the profits that they are making, they're obviously doing a lot of investments in the ESG space. They're giving investments to solar. They're doing investments in alternative energy. So now the point is, you will say, "Arey, ye to bahut sustainable hai." But customer ke liye, that's not important. For a customer, he wants to know, yaar, maine ye pehna hua hai, is this sustainable or not? Product level disclosures is what is important, right? A customer can only tell what is sustainable if I know that, okay, the process that I undertook to make this particular garment is sustainable. I'm not doing fast fashion. I haven't wasted a lot of money. I haven't wasted a lot of water, etc., etc. Yeah. So that's basically where we come in, right? Challenges pe, if I talk, challenges pe, I really thought this educating companies will be the challenge. That has not at all been the challenge. Companies, like you said, are already doing all this, right? And again, a great company that's doing it is Make My Trip. We've done some work with them as well. They, the best thing about them is that they're in travel, and then they're looking at the problems that happen while people travel, and they're looking at solving that. So they're very close to the business model. उन्होंने ऐसे नहीं सोचा कि अच्छा हम maybe let's try and solve a problem that is not driven by tourism, for example, right? So they are very true, because they're being very true to the business model, which is what I honestly really like. So that challenge did not happen. But the typical challenges of a startup, यार क्या क्या होते हैं कि product पहले बनाएं या fundraise करें, product नहीं बन रहा, बहुत लोग नहीं मिल रहे, लोग मिल रहे हैं तो बहुत महंगे हैं. All that typical stuff that happens, that is just, it's so common in every startup. You will go through the same challenges. Product market fit कितनी बन रही है, कितना traction आ रहा है, revenue generate हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा, contract कब close होगा, sales cycle बहुत लंबा है. The typical challenges that happen in every startup is basically what we are seeing. Honestly, I feel those challenges are easier to solve for, because when you see product market fit, that is the best, say, proof of the pudding, right? that you get your validation from them. So that is really fantastic. That journey has been easier than I expected, honestly. It's not been as tough as I thought it would be, especially in India. So again, kudos to the corporate sector who already knows about all these things and knows about ESG. A lot of companies, the top 1,000 companies that I have met, they are already very responsible. And they are already, they have made large capital investments to be sustainable. So I guess the world is pretty much moving towards this direction. Yeah,
that's really great, the journey you had. Like, you learned a lot with the same, talking about such customers and, talking with the company, people, management. It's really tough for a women. So I have a follow-up, one question with this follow-up, like, especially for the women who are the startup founder, as you also like a mentor for the women and funded for different startup for the women. So I have a question like this, for a women typically, especially the youth of India, not much aware about the travel tourism or not driving towards the same. And if a women plan for such startups and looking for such things, so what are the stereotypes that are there with us today that even you had also faced maybe in your journey? So can you please share with us, a woman should know before they are planning?
See, I'll tell you, it's not more challenging for a woman. It is equally challenging. Let me put it that way. Because whether you're a man or a woman, wo startup to chalana hai na, so it's equally challenging. The thing why they say it is more challenging for a woman is because she has other responsibilities, right? You can choose to work on your startup for 14 hours if you are a man, because you will not even take a break for lunch and no one will ask you anything. So with a woman, you have responsibilities. Everybody has, you're in a family. Even if you're not married, there are still responsibilities at home, or you are married, or you have children. The issue with women is that they take up more responsibility. ये भी हो सकता है, even I can say, भाई मैं available नहीं हूँ, but मैं रोज available नहीं हूँ, वो थोड़ा मुश्किल है. So that, when men go crazy and they work like really madly, they are called workaholics, right? But women usually don't get that title because of the reason that women have other responsibilities by default, right? I mean, we will also feel bad if we don't meet our family for 10 days straight and we don't come for any lunch or any dinner. We will also feel bad. That's the difference, actually. So it is probably harder because the guy who's working for 14 hours straight, we have to compete with him. Hamare 14 hours will be 2 7-hour days. They will have 14 hours one day, we will have 2 7-hour days. So that is the reason, and women essentially are more balanced also. So that is the reason we have to compete more. We have to compete, and it is harder. That is the only reason. Otherwise, there is no reason. It is equally difficult for them also. They have to equally find those answers the way you have to find. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's really a flawless answer you have given. I think the women who are going to watch, they're really gonna inspire with the same. And Aditi, as you are a UNWTO body, right? So let's talk about the milestone. So feeling, when you have left your venture capital job and planned with the startups and, turning yourself in a diversified direction and to reach to that, that zenith point of the life, getting such award. So what was your favorite memory that you cherish?
Getting a global award is another feeling. It's another level. Actually, I shouldn't even say it's another level. It's just part of your journey. But because it's the United Nations, they organize it really well. It's very large. It's on a big scale. They do a lot for you. So actually, which people don't know, वो सिर्फ एक award नहीं होता. You are the guest of the state for that period of time when you are there, and you get this pass, which means that आपको कुछ भी activity करनी है, it's on the house. It is on the house of the hosting country. So if suppose with that badge, if we sat in any bus tour, any boat tour, any palace tour, everything was free for us. It was really amazing. And not only that, because the forum is so big, and that city, we got our award in St. Petersburg. So obviously those people also must be there in the city. So we used to be stopped in the city. See, एक तो चीज हो गई कि आप बहुत बड़े platform पे जाओ, आपको award मिल जाए. But that carried on through that journey of 7 days. We were there for 7 days. And that was really special. वो तो कहीं नहीं होता ना. You get an award, आपको 1-2 दिन का PR मिलता है, and then you kind of forget about it. But this was very, very, this was the most amazing thing. In fact, I'm very sad that, nobody from my family came because, winners were not declared. It was there were 3 finalists, and we were supposed to know that day. So when I saw the finalists also, I told my counterpart. So me and this colleague from my office, we both went, and I told her, I said, यार ये तो chance ही नहीं है हमारा. मतलब क्या हम resort company हैं, एक बंदे ने अपना कोलंबिया में पूरे forest को revive किया है over some, you know, like a full mountain side, so some big project. एक ने कोरल रीफ को रिस्टोर किया. मैंने कहा यार क्या बात करो, हम तो रिजॉर्ट चला रहे हैं. आई डाउट. एंड वी आर फॉर प्रॉफिट. दैट्स द अदर थिंग. एवरीबडी एल्स वाज नॉट फॉर प्रॉफिट. मैं कहा फॉर प्रॉफिट तो आज तक नहीं जीता, तो कैसे हम जीतेंगे? नॉट पॉसिबल. एंड सो वी डिडंट हैव वी आई रियली थॉट दैट वी वोंट विन. सो आई टोल्ड एवरीबडी कि ठीक है यार, हम हमारा ट्रिप हो जाएगा रशिया. अब तो अच्छा हुआ हम चले गए, बिकॉज अब तो जा भी नहीं सकते. सो आई सेड यार रशिया देख के आ जाएंगे, एंड इट्स फाइन यार, इफ नोबडी वांट्स टू कम इट्स कूल. I had no idea, no inkling that all this will happen. So it was like a trip of a lifetime, which I hardly could experience with my family. I only talked to them about it. It was obviously extremely special, and it's not about special. That award sort of is helping me even now. Even right now, my track record is basically that award, which I talk about when somebody says, oh, how do you know so much about sustainability? That is one feather in my cap, which I talk about. So that award hasn't finished. That award is carrying on. So it's obviously an extremely special award.
Obviously, that's a great pride, you know, that's getting that award. And you were also in BW, right? The business award you got, that 40 under 40, right? It's also great achievement. And I just want to know, you know, that you have received 2 million funding by the seed bank, and that from the Mumbai side. So it was also a very great news I had at the time. So what was your motivation, you know, working?
तो नहीं, the 2 million तो बहुत पहले था यार. वो तो
yeah, that's what I just want to know about the sales. Like, yeah. So what was
that was way back.
So how did you use that fund, or how did you apply for the same? Like, because most of the people are not know the pathway, you know, especially जब वो apply करते हैं for this fund.
यार उन दिनों का तो जो knowledge थी ना, in fact वो आज के डेट में काम ही नहीं आता, because they were very different days.
Yeah.
I was actually funded in idea stage. I was funded from that time onwards till the time that I exited. So वो बिल्कुल अलग time था. आजकल आइडिया स्टेज पे लोग फंड होते नहीं हैं. You have to build the business to some level. So it's a bit hard actually, because you have to have a little bit of attraction. मतलब इसका मतलब है कि आपने थोड़ा एफर्ट डाला होता है to build the company, and then you get funded. And even here I am seeing the journey has completely changed. पहले तो you could get at least, you know, आराम से आपका जैसे ये $2 million राउंड था, मुझे तो लगता था बड़ा छोटा राउंड है, बिकॉज उस टाइम पे एनीवेज वो $8 भी कम था. तो इट वाज अबाउट 8 crores is what we raised, if I am not wrong, because that is now $1 million. So sorry, 10 crores is what we raised. So you know, I mean वो भी days थोड़े से different थे. अब जो होता है, अब इट्स वेरी स्पेसिफिक. अब एक एंजल राउंड होता है पहले, फिर उसके बाद यू नो लाइक एक फॉलो ऑन राउंड होता है. सो it's a very different space right now. Okay, and there are a lot of companies which don't give money, but then they give a lot of support in terms of mentors and in terms of connects and everything. Actually startup को चाहिए क्या होता है? Connections ही चाहिए होता है pretty much, right? So so they help in that. So it's good to work with these guys. Then you build up your company to a certain level, then you go for funding. You talk to angels, you get some interesting angels on board. That's really how the process works now. So pehle ka unfortunately all the know-how I'm seeing is not really working so much these days.
Okay. So Aditi, like if we talk about the sales and marketing, you know, like during an investment, and you also have came across with this thing earlier also, and you're supposed to going to be have. So if we talk about the sales and marketing, so you know, what are the types of problem like a person actually faces when we are planning? Because I guess sales and marketing is very important aspect of any venture, or you talk about any aspect. So business related. So especially what do you think over it?
No, so sales and marketing is probably the most important vertical. In fact, मैं तो आपको बोल रही हूँ कि very early stage startups also have to focus on sales and marketing only. because like I said, that's the proof of the pudding, right? Investors को देखना है कि कितने लोग agree कर रहे हैं आपकी story को, right? That's basically what. But there are two types of businesses and there are two types of sales and marketing efforts that you can see. The first one is a B2B model where you go to a corporate, right? You have to sell to a corporate. So the flip side is that, or the good, say the bad part is that corporates take very long to make decisions. So maybe your sales cycle are too long. But the good side is that there are not, it's not a retail customers. You don't have to reach out to a large number of people. You have to reach out to a few number of people only. So that is the advantage in a B2B, and every contract that you get is a big contract, right? So आप 5 corporate customers हो गए, आपकी गाड़ी चल गई, आप इस तरीके से सोच सकते हैं, right? But in a retail space, it's very tough. So retail में तो आपको थोड़ा सा डिजिटल करना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा सोशल मीडिया करना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा इन्फ्लुएंसर मार्केटिंग करना पड़ेगा, थोड़ा कम्युनिटीज को टारगेट करना पड़ेगा. सो एक्चुअली जब आप B2C करते हो and you are building a business without funding, the initial, it is tough because you need to market and you need to do digital, you need to spend a little bit of money. And at the same time, not only are you spending money, but you are also going to check every customer's review, because again, that is what investors are going to see. You might, some customers might not like you, you may have to change. So all that story is, उसमें ना दो dynamics आ जाते हैं basically. हमारे केस में तो corporate ने no किया, ठीक है, इस corporate ने no कर दिया, आप दूसरे corporate पे चले जाओ. But customers में it's a bit difficult. So when I was building B Resorts, the initial, and that's why we got funding. You asked me why did we raise that money? We raised that money for the digital marketing for getting consumers. We could have also, you've heard of Oyo rooms, right? There was one point of time, I don't know if you remember, when every billboard was Oyo rooms, every poster was Oyo room, your outdoor marketing was entirely done by Oyo rooms, right? And they spent a lot of money in that, in acquiring the customer. We went completely the digital way. So we did not spend a lot of money in outdoor, in traditional advertising, but we did do very heavy digital marketing to get our first customers.
Yeah, that's really great. I guess I learned a lot with the things that you have done so far and came out, and also planning for sustainability. So what are your future plans that you're looking for right now? You have already have crossed that part. Even a person right now who's thinking to plan such a business, and pros and cons, you're totally aware. So I guess you're the perfect.
कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा, honestly, बिल्कुल there was hardly any difference. I really felt that second time will be easier. बिल्कुल भी नहीं है यार, उतना ही struggle है. So I was very disappointed, honestly. But I really felt that the second time I would know everything. I would exactly know what's happening, and there would be no, let's say, I mean, there would be no questions in my mind. ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं यार, because obviously business भी अलग है. It's not that I'm building another resort company. So business is different. Learnings are again new. I'm having the same amount of questions, and the same stuff, that how many customers are going to say yes, how to convince them, what to do, all that stuff. It's the same, yeah. So in fact, today I did an Instagram post that you must see, that when you are building a startup, you are constantly failing at something. So आज for example sales बहुत अच्छा गया, but आज मेरे investor relations were terrible, मुझे कुछ नहीं मिला, right? So problem ये है कि at any point of time, हम जब UNWTO में थे and वहां पे award मिलता था, हमें पता था हम किस चीज पे fail कर रहे हैं. When we were back home, we knew we have to go back home and then deal with this particular thing. So failure is constant. It remains with you forever. And each day you're failing at something or the other, right? So you have to correct something or the other. ये पूरी journey ही ऐसी है. And I really thought कि इस time अलग होएगी. It's my 5th month. It's ending. It's 31st May today. 5th month of new startup. It's the same. More challenging maybe is what I can say.
I understand that. That's really a challenging one, I guess. And one last question I would like to end up the session with. So Aditi, would you like to share, your views for our learners as you turn from this local, or what do you think that a person, planning from local to global during his planning for the startup and venture? Obviously, I personally have a question this from you. Suppose you already have that B resort. So Why did you have not planned? Because as you said, America have not even that much of at legacy or not that much of information that we have done in our country. So what is your point of view? Or suppose an individual who is planning like this from local to global, so what they should remain or do's or don't like this?
Sure. No, that's a great question, actually. And I'll tell you why we didn't do it for V Resorts and why we are completely changing our strategy this time. So basically now you have to look at scalability, right? In V Resorts, the scalability was poor because in fact investors मुझे ये बोलते थे ना, I'm like कैसे Airbnb scale कर रहा है, मैं क्यों नहीं scale कर सकती, that way. So actually V Resorts में क्या था, we were running our own properties, हम manage कर रहे थे, right? So that would entail, if I'm supposed to go to any geography, US ले लीजिए आप. So if I'm going to US, I would need a physical team to sit there and to be able to scout properties. So what the cost that I'm incurring in India, I would have to replicate the same cost that I incur in US. Okay, which is why it was not scalable. Now imagine that I have a technology product. My tech team is sitting in India. If I have to deploy that technology anywhere in the world, I can deploy it. I don't need anybody. Right? So even if I get a client sitting, yes, I may have to go to the US couple of times to meet some clients. That is possible.
Exactly.
But once I get a client in the US, to service that client, I don't need to be sitting in the US. My tech team will service from India. So that's when you can plan the global company. And we are planning the global company from the get-go. If you plan two geographies together, you can only do it when the product can go to the geography without you having to move there. So, for example, anything which is operationally heavy, all right, cannot move to a new geography. It's very difficult. And of course it can. Think about it from, say, Taj Hotels. Let's look at Taj example. Taj के भी तो mostly hotels India में हैं, but हैं, they have 2-3 hotels हैं उनके बाहर India के, but mostly तो India में है. Taj भी तो expand कर सकता है. Taj ने क्यों नहीं expand किया? Right? So that is the reason, because operationally heavy है यार उनके पास. Then अगर Taj expand करेगा, they have to have general manager, they have to have accounts manager, they have to have physical people, they have to have an office, they have to have accountant. An accountant sitting in India cannot do accounting for US. You have to have a US accountant. You have to have a US legal team. नहीं, आपको इतने खर्चे नहीं पालने. That is the reason आप local company को focus करो. And Taj is a great example. By going completely India, they are one of the largest. In fact, they are the largest entity in hospitality in the country. So that's fine. You can grab market share also. Make My Trip is also a great example. Make My Trip has got amazing market share in India, but if you look at their other geographies, they have not yet expanded. Because and Make My Trip to tech tool hai, actually. Make My Trip actually kar sakta hai. But even they have not found the, that they can actually expand and have inventory of the other countries. So it completely depends. If you're a market leader in your geography, you don't need to go anywhere. But in our case, we feel that the market for sustainability is higher in US and Europe than it is in India. And that is the reason we want to go to both together. Because जहां पर भी client बैठा है, मेरी technology जो इंडिया में बैठी है, वो deploy कर देगी. मुझे कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी.
Exactly, it's a perfect point that you have came across, and wonderful knowledge that you have shared on all of us. That's really, really great. Even I enjoyed the interview. This interview is really fantastic. I think I have taken so many interview of different startup holders. So this is something really interesting. You have given me all the summary. I don't need to ask you a message to all our viewers. I think if someone gonna see is they get to know कि हाँ आपने इतना explore, scroll दोनों ही किया है. It's really a roller coaster. I would like to congratulate you for this wonderful achievements, no matter whether it is there or not, but you are the perfect example who are still existing for us, and we wish for your wonderful career and for health. I wish you have a great success, Aditi, and it's my privilege to be here to be with you for a wonderful time you have given us. My prayers are always there with you. See you next time. Till that, stay tuned, stay happy. Okay? Bye-bye.